What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike. I am from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined by two men that secretly told me off camera that they don't believe that Mariah Carey doesn't want presents under the Christmas tree. But of course, we're here to make all your Christmas wishes come true. All I want for Christmas are these two guys, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahalik. How you doing, boys?
Nice.
Phenomenal.
Good
Very
work. Good work.
Thank you very much.
I have a very large friend who gets super drunk and sings that song at the top of his lungs in bars in July. It's fantastic.
That is fantastic. Absolutely, yeah. So how's it going, Joe?
It's going good. So I'm working.
Run.
I'm open since we don't have box cutter, Mike's Upper Deck box cutters or Mike's Retro Trading Card box cutters. I need to do this the old-fashioned way. And let's see if I can get this open. So I teased this a little bit on the Twitters. And son of a gun. Hold on.
Yeah, we're gonna have to edit out like 20 minutes of this and trying to cut open.
It's too early in the morning to handle a knife that big, man. I feel scared.
Hold on.
Yeah. Everybody watching is scared for their life too.
The last moments of Joe Day caught on camera.
Wait, here we go. I think I got it. Hold on.
Oh my God. It's gonna come right at us.
It's right in his neck too.
I haven't drank yet. We're good. Hold on. I think I got this.
Freezing up and wow.
Hold on. Oh, wait. Do I have it? No, I don't think I have it. Wait.
All right. Well, good chat, guys, and we'll be back next week.
I swear this was not as hard to open the last time. Hold on. All right. I got it.
You just made my editing job so much more difficult because that is so entertaining watching you struggle. But we don't have 4 hours for a podcast. So, yeah. Here we go.
So I got it. Okay. So I did this teaser on the Twitters. Okay. And I got the most, I don't know, the greatest personal collection card of all time.
Wow.
Like, I don't feel comfortable keeping this in my house. I might have to run it to the bank after this. Monday morning, open up 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go to the bank. Went through authentication. Can't believe I have this in my PC right now. That's right, everyone. Bert Emanuel, PMG, SGC8. Mike, you know who that is, right? You know Bert.
I've never heard of him. I don't even know
look at that PMG. Actually, that looks really sharp.
Really cool
I'm
card.
not gonna lie.
Looks nice in that slab too, yeah.
It does look really nice in that slab. It's like the John Cena thing where you can't see the person on the card. Yeah, that's Bert. Remember that time he had that really good game against the Saints in 1996? It was fantastic. But yes, Bert Emanuel, all joking aside, the most PC of PC cards. This is what I picked up this week. Bert Emanuel, PMG, my first ever PMG. So I didn't do a Marvel PMG. Got a Bert Emanuel PMG. So Mike had nightmares of that, or nightmares of me almost stabbing myself with that knife over and over.
That was entertainment, quality entertainment. Yes.
I thought so. Need to get those box cutters.
Oh yeah. So EP, how are you doing this week?
I'm really good. I had a great. I withheld some news from you guys this week.
Oh.
At work, I received an email honoring me for my 25 years of service. I wanted to get you guys' reactions on camera.
Fantastic!
Wow, you got an email.
Yep. Well, I also got a gift, $250 gift. So.
What?
Yeah, every like 5 years or whatever, they give out gifts for anniversaries.
Wow. Beers on EP next time I'm in Danville, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
So what kind of card are you buying with that?
I'm not buying a card with it. It's a gift card. So
to where?
That's one of those.
Say
like,
Applebee's.
No. It's one of those ones you can charge it, like put it on Amazon or whatever. Like it's got
So why are you not buying a card?
Listen, I'm not going to use that to buy a card.
Why?
It's an expensive card. Why am I going to buy a card with that?
No, he's not going to use it to buy a card. He's going to use it to buy packs of cards from the 1980s.
I would never do anything like that.
500 packs of junk wax.
500. I got to find a better deal than that.
Wow.
One other thing I'm excited about though too is tonight is the Hall of Fame's era committee is gonna, they're gonna possibly put some more players in like that list. Did we talk about that on air at all?
We have not. No.
So like Barry Bonds, like there's a bunch of the steroid guys, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, a bunch of them. Then there's also like Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly, Fred McGriff, like some other players. And I just think I'm excited to see how that works out. I mean, Bonds, we've had the discussion. Like Bonds should be in there. You can't have your all-time home run hitter not in the Hall of Fame. Like, what kind of Hall of Fame is it if it's not? So
does Pete Rose make it in?
Yeah, right. I mean, they're waiting until he dies, I think, and then they'll put him in. No, I'm serious. Like, it's terrible, but yeah, that's what they're doing.
So do you think any of the steroid era guys are going to get in?
I think Bonds definitely is going to get in. I think Clemens gets in. I think they both have to get in. Mattingly probably gets in because he's such a beloved player. Dale Murphy has the numbers to get in. I feel like he's one of the players that I really think should get in. McGriff, if he had taken steroids, probably would be in the conversation right now, but he never did. He was still a great player, but I hope he gets in eventually, but I'm not sure if he's going to make it in this time. But I really think
you said Pete Rose after he dies could make it in. So would I have made it in the podcast Hall of Fame had I died on camera? I mean,
you were
like, you got to
first ballot. First ballot.
Yeah, all timer.
Just think of the views. We would have had so many views.
That's Logan Paul. Didn't he show it
until YouTube took it down?
I'm still posting that. I don't care. I'm still posting it.
And just as an aside, the beer I'm drinking today is an 11.2.
Oh my gosh!
So that's why I opened the card up with that big knife at the beginning of the pod. I'm a thinker.
Fantastic.
I'm a thinker.
Well, thankfully for you, since you're drinking 11.2 beer there, we get to talk about PSA this week. So, this is going to be a good combination, I'm sure. Let's get into it. PSA and WhatNot announced a deal this week that you can send your purchases directly that you buy from WhatNot directly from WhatNot to PSA to have them graded. The seller, I think it's an optional service that the seller can offer. The seller will then submit the card to PSA for you. They have to put it in the card saver and print out the details for it, put all that stuff in for it. Normal fees, the cheapest level is the value level, the $30 level, and standard like turnaround time and prices for everything, the declared values, the upcharges, everything will be the same. But I was looking over the details for the sellers on WhatNot, and apparently the buyer has to pay $14 per card for shipping. I don't think there's a way to combine orders from, if I was reading everything correctly there, because you buy the card and when you check out the card, you'll have the option to send it to PSA. So that charge and everything goes right into your purchase price. So if you're going to get a card graded $30 level, say it's $100 card, you're going to have $130 plus the 14.
It's going to be a $44 grading fee.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. I mean, unless there is something I didn't see, but everything on there looked like it was a individual transaction for PSA. And I mean, the big question is, do we really want to now start grading cards that we don't even get to look at before we grade them? Like,
we don't.
Like,
yeah, three of us, right?
Yeah, the three of us don't. But the people that are getting, and I don't know if you mentioned it too, Mike, this is also for cards that you get in breaks.
Yeah.
So if you hit a big card in a break, you can send it off. So I'm wondering, say you get the Patriots in a break, right? And you get 2 big Mac Jones cards. Are they $14 each for shipping for those two? Like, how does that work? There's so many, and you said this perfectly in our group text, there's so many more questions than answers, it feels like, with this program. But when I first saw this, someone had tweeted this out, shared the WhatNot video, and I feel bad, I forget the person who had sent it or had tweeted it, but they asked a very good question: who's prepping and cleaning my cards before they get sent in? And that's so true. And
They wipe the fingerprints off it though.
Right.
At PSA, like so it's not a big
Well,
deal.
I made the joke once. The
If there's
grader
anything
that
on
Matt
there, they'll
has,
pull it off. Yeah,
they'll pull
we're good.
I said it's the guy with the fingernail. He'll just scrape
Yeah.
anything off of it. For
Yeah,
you.
no
You're fine. They won't
problems.
use
No
gloves. That's fine.
problems.
And
Yeah.
that'll record the whole thing. I'm sure. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, but that's a really good point. I like to look at my cards before I send them in because there are things you see in person. You have to trust that the person, and I don't think there's like a pre-grade to this either. So it's not like, whoever Backyard Breaks, you get a card from them in a break. It's not like they're saying, oh, I don't know, this might be an 8. They're going to send it in because honestly, they're probably getting a kickback, right? To send those cards in, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart, right? To do all that legwork. I'm sure there's some sort of financial deal there too. So
yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of added work to the seller.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I was thinking that when I was reading through there, it's like, I have to go through, prep the card, do the paperwork. Like you're doing everything that the person who's going to be getting the card would have had to do. So,
right.
Yeah,
so
that's
what are you getting? Maybe that's why the shipping's $14. Maybe a portion of that is a kickback to the sellers.
Yeah, like a handling fee or whatever. Part of that is like a handling fee for the dealer. Yeah, there are a ton of questions here. I think we talked about the SGC deal for Bowman Chrome cards last week, and I think that like you need to be making deals like this. Like this is a great opportunity for PSA and whatnot, but that price seems like ridiculous. And for as much as we wouldn't want to do it, I think there's a lot of people who that's like automatic where they get a card like a Kaboom or something like that. They want to get it graded. Like they don't, and they're like, I'm not going to pre-grade it. I don't care. Just send it and get it graded. It's my Kaboom. I want to get it graded because I'm going to sell it. Like I think a lot of people think about it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And, I want to look at a little big picture. Like I've been thinking about this a lot since you first brought it up in our group chat. And, we've seen what Fanatics wants to do, right? And I think you're seeing with all these deals that are being made, all the other grading companies want to get out in front of whatever Fanatics might be planning to do. I think they know that Fanatics wants to be able to sell a card break, make the card, sell a card break, send it to a grader, everything without you ever touching it until you get it, like, and maybe even never if you put it in their vault. So a lot of these companies, PSA especially, they're really aggressive with it. This is an interesting idea. Also, something we talked about before too is how long until it happens with eBay. You have to think that's the holy grail these companies want to get. That I feel we've talked about it before. The day is coming that you're going to be able to do the same thing through eBay, right?
Yep. You'll buy the card on eBay, you'll win the auction, whatever, and then you'll click a thing that says send to, and currently they have deals with all 3 of the big ones. Well, no, the big ones. I'm sorry. They have the deal with CSG for raw cards currently, and they have the deal with PSA. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a day where they have a deal with the big 4, and you get to pick which one.
Right.
The seller gets a shipping label depending on what company the buyer used, and they'll ship it to BGS in Texas or down to Florida with SGC or all the way out to California. Like there's going to be options there, and it's really smart. I mean, I would never do it because, again, I don't think every card should be graded. But if I bought a raw Tom Brady card, what are the odds I'm not going to have it graded? You know what I mean? So in that instance, there is a positive, or there is an opportunity to that even makes sense for someone like me who normally wouldn't think this service is good. But in terms of the one-stop shop where you go from break to vault and all the steps in between without it touching the cards, I think I mentioned this on the first or second pod. It almost feels like they're NFTs at this point. I mean, you can actually get the physical card, but if all along the way you're not going to have them in your hand and you're just going to have a high-res picture of them on your phone, I mean, what really is the difference?
Yeah,
there
doesn't feel like you have anything.
It doesn't feel like you have anything. It just feels like you have a picture on your phone of a card that's in a vault, 20 states over.
Right. I feel like I do think that if somebody's going to do it with eBay, like they're going to have to do it a little cheaper. And I feel like they're going to have to kind of cut out what you have to do to submit them. Like you're not, I don't know. There are a lot of eBay sellers out there that I don't know that I would trust having to take my card, put it in a card saver, do all that safely, handle it safely, package it and send it to PSA. Like I feel like whoever decides they want to do this kind of deal with eBay is going to have to be a little easier, like can send it in a top load and, just like, I just don't think they could charge the same amount of money either. Like what, if you're a company and you could do a deal with eBay and people get their cards a little faster and a little cheaper, I think you could really take over a market. And I don't know, PSA is already at the top. I don't know that they want to do that. They're making a ton of money, but some of these other companies, maybe that's the route that they'll go. I don't know.
When you're referring to those people who put a card unsleeved, wrap it in paper towel, and then put it in an envelope and mail it. Those kinds of people.
Those type of people.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of those this week on Twitter too.
Yeah.
That brings up a topic before I forget EP, because I am drinking 11.2.
Right.
That brings up a topic though that we're not going to talk in detail on the pod about, but you were talking about bad eBay sellers and do I trust certain sellers to send my cards to a grading company or not? I mean, we had a situation a couple of weeks ago. Propstein, one of the biggest sellers, one of the biggest consigners on eBay, listed a card, and maybe you can throw the listing up as a picture, Mike. Listed a card. It was a Tom Brady Crown Royale card, autographed. They didn't put autograph anywhere in the listing or the title.
Yeah.
The card sold for $2,000. That's a $4,000 to $5,000 card. So if they can't do consignments right, am I really trusting Joe Schmo with 200 feedback to send my card in properly to be graded? So I mean, and sure, eBay's not doing it now, but we think that may be their end game. But I don't know if I trust some of the sellers at Whatnot. It's not like it's not like we have a ton of Einsteins that are ripping cards. We watch all the sports card radio videos making fun of some of these group breakers, right? I mean, I'm not 100% sure I trust those people to handle my cards and send them in correctly.
They had to fit looks nicer than the PSA 8 on the title, right? They couldn't.
Who puts you can't fit autograph. Looks nicer. I mean,
looks nicer. Definitely, because that's going to sell more for me for sure. I'm definitely going to believe the words in the headline.
Looks nicer, absolutely.
Could you imagine being the seller?
Yeah.
Interesting. One quick thing, like just kind of reminded me, like the WhatNot thing. Like, how do you make a deal like that with WhatNot, but then charge the same price? Like you were just saying about how eBay's got to be lowered.
Yeah, like, it's not a deal.
And I realized the $14, like you got to give them some money, but that initial fee should be less. Like it should be part of the deal. Like that,
it's paying for your laziness. You're paying for your laziness.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, gonna move on to one of our favorite companies here, Panini. We haven't talked about them in a couple weeks, and I feel like they're feeling a little bit left out.
Then.
Absolutely. Well, they got some great news this week, actually. We all know there has been an ongoing redemption lawsuit. And recently, this week, I believe, in court, they ruled that they could not have class action status. So what this means is they're not allowed anybody else who has an issue with Panini redemption, who is thinking about legal action against them, will now have to individually file suit. They can't join together in a class action suit. And that is a huge win for Panini, because like, in effect, unless you want to go through the ringer, spend all that money to get your $100 card, like it's basically worthless now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also, like, if they were allowed to do that, they would be bankrupt, right? Because literally everybody would sue them over it, right? Like anybody who's ever got a Panini auto.
Yeah,
but I mean,
like you feel like they should. Yeah,
right.
I guess. Yeah.
We're gonna give you this, but we're never gonna give it to you, and then we're never gonna do anything about it. And that's where we are with it. Like they don't have to do anything now. Okay, go ahead, sue us. Yeah, whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay more money to a lawyer, chances are, than the card you would potentially get. Yeah. And it's not like a jury is gonna dole out pain and suffering, verdicts and stuff like this. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I watch a lot of the practice reruns. Great show, by the way. Alan Shore, Boston Legal. I'm in on all of it, but I will say this about the class action. I think the judge just doesn't know about cards. We said this in another lawsuit before where it was like, oh, this judge clearly is very confused on how cards work because a lawsuit should have gone one way or the other, just out of common sense for card collectors. I feel like this is the very same thing. I mean, you have a class, you have literally a class of people who could not submit or submitted redemptions who are not getting, sure, are they a contract or not? I don't know. But when you're promising someone something and you don't deliver and you have a large group of people in the same boat, isn't that by definition a class action? So again, I'm not a lawyer. Boston Legal, La Practice, Law and Order, all that stuff. I watch all of them. But as a non-lawyer, it just seems like to me, the judge looking over this has no idea about cards. And that's going to be a problem for people trying to do anything from a legal perspective when it comes to card collecting. Because, again, a lot of people don't know. We think it's this big thing because we're super famous, the three of us. We think it's this big thing, but it's really not. No, I saw a fan take a picture with you, Mike. I saw a fan at a hockey game take a picture with you. So intergalactic superstar, Mike Lutz over here. But yeah, I mean, if the law doesn't understand cards, then I don't think a collector is ever going to win these lawsuits because the company that's defending this is going to have a lot more money to send a lot better lawyer to do it.
Sure are.
That's a good argument, Joe. Was there any talk about
a lawyer?
You should. I was going to say
you basically are.
The defense rests. The defense rests.
7 seasons of The Practice, man. I just did the full rewatch. I am set.
Yeah.
Was there any mention of an appeal, Mike? Was there any talk of them appealing it to try to?
No, it's just I guess it was a motion, and like they didn't even give a reason why that they ruled that way. But yeah, so. I mean, it's a big ruling, though. Like, it really does affect all the rest of us with redemptions. I still have one outstanding. It's Ramondre Stevenson. Like, I even requested a replacement. I don't care. Just give me something. I've gotten no movement on it whatsoever.
Just give me the points, man.
Yeah, I'll even take points, whatever. But I may not get anything. They're going to be like,
you
okay,
Mike, you probably won't.
Me. What are you going to do about it?
Right, exactly. Are you going to pay a lawyer for that Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah, you're going to go on your podcast. You're going to whine like a little baby, and you're not going to do anything about it. Come at us, you know.
Our tens and tens of fans are very upset that you have not gotten that Ramondre Stevenson.
I know, terrible. They're going to boycott Panini, I'm sure. Oh, okay. Well, let's move on here. A little while ago on the podcast, we had a little discussion about Fernando Tatis Jr. and how his little suspension issue for steroids might affect his card market. And our ace reporter on the case down here, Eric Pahalik, is going to update us, I believe, today on the Fernando Tatis market, right, EP?
Yep, I got an update for you.
Great.
Don't worry about Fernando Tatis until January. Just don't even think about it. But since I have the microphone, let's talk baseball for a little bit. Okay. Bowman Chrome Baseball came out last week, 2 weeks ago, 2022. If you can get yourself a box, there's like 100. There are like 100 players in there that are like teenagers. Like it's crazy, like 16-year-olds. There's a Jackson Churio who he's got his first auto in this product. He made it to Double-A last year as an 18-year-old. So there's just a ton of really good prospects. Don't buy any Churio cards because there's like an auto, like an orange auto that's sold for like $14,000. Number 25. That's that baseball card that sold for like $14,000. So you don't want to be buying any of those cards, but you want to sell those cards now. But there's going to be there will be a lot of players in this product that you want to put aside in like a baseball rookies box and wait a couple of years and pull it back out and see what's in there. So, but yeah, that's
I disagree. I disagree.
Can I
with
ask
what you
a
just
question
said,
though?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
If it's 14,000 now, doesn't that mean like in 5 years it'll be worth like $1 million?
Bowman draft picks and
might
prospects
be worth $1 million.
Bowman draft picks and prospects comes out in like I want to say like a month. It's pretty like it might be January-ish when that comes out. All the hype from this product is going to drop. I mean, his cards are still going to be good. He's still going to be some hype there, but the prices right now are outrageous. So if you got anybody good, sell them. If you have anybody that's not good, just put them in a box and save them. And there'll be multiple for these guys that are all teenagers. Like there's 2 16-year-olds that are probably like among the top prospects in this product.
Wow.
They're gonna have multiple pops in their cards coming up. So just put them aside for now and wait till they get they have a big game, they have a call up, that sort of stuff, and then you can flip those cards and then buy them later for less. Go ahead,
Joe's
Joe.
dying to get in here.
I have several things to say. Number one, so your Fernando Tatis report had nothing to do with Fernando Tatis.
No, I said
clarify that.
I gave a
he
full,
wrapped
I
that
gave
up.
A full,
Very,
he wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And for the viewers
January,
who
don't
may just joining us now, Mike and I both and EP are going to kick in some cash to buy one when it's at its lowest, to see if we can, maybe flip it down the road as a team, just for fun, to see if, maybe EP knows what he's doing or not. My other thing is I disagree with you, EP. If you have good players or rookies that you think could maybe be good players or whatever, I wouldn't put them in a box and forget about them. Send them to SGC for $9, right? I mean, you're not going to get this $9 deal, any other time. So if you have those that you have no idea about, send them to SGC. If they're good now, send them to PSA. And I was going to bring this up when you
just sell them
or sell them, whatever.
Just
but
sell them at the price that they're at right now.
I was going to bring this up.
Yes,
$14,000. Yeah, sell it now. I was going to bring this up when you mentioned the Bowman Chrome before, that I didn't watch it yet, but Alico 3 actually opened up some Bowman Chrome baseball.
Oh, wow.
He did a box break. He doesn't generally do box breaks on the channel. I haven't watched it, but I'm going to guarantee you he is sending almost every single rookie card, every autograph, everything to SGC. So if it's good enough for Alico 3, it should be good enough for everyone else, because that's the smart play.
Yeah, he's got 2 prospects that I haven't seen that video yet, but I know he's got 2 Bowman Chrome, or 2 prospects that he's really, really looking at to get a bunch of their cards. I guarantee you he'll be sending those in.
Yeah,
those guys in for sure.
Well, I will have to watch that, and maybe I'll actually learn something about baseball.
That's the only way I would ever learn about baseball, is watching his videos.
Oh, and one last note: there was a Jackson Churio Bowman first in that box. I got the $50 box for 50 cards. There's a Jackson Churio Bowman first paper in there. That was one of the cards that was in there. So.
Joe, you're not a baseball fan, right?
I'm not.
Are you hearing Cheerios when EP is saying that too?
CHOURIO.
I'm hungry. I do have some. I have some honey.
I'm sure his name is not Cheerios, but every time you say it, I hear Cheerios.
All right, I'm going to say Jackson Churio every episode now, just to say it.
I'm gonna have a bowl of
Cheerio, whatever. Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Okay,
he's a fan of the channel. No
Double A at 18 years old. Double A baseball.
That is insane. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, almost as good as Joe was at flag football at 18. But
that's pretty good. No, I broke my leg. What are you talking about? I broke my ankle.
Well, that's the only reason you didn't go pro.
That is
all right. Well, November grading numbers came out, so we always like to go over these a little bit. If my voice will hold up here, I'm going to go through them.
I'm just going to pull back the curtain a little bit on why Mike's voice is bad. He was cheering so hard for the U.S. men's soccer team that the national team that just recently lost 3-1. He was cheering at the top of his lungs. He's a huge U.S. soccer fan. And that's where his voice went.
Captain America, baby. He is Captain my favorite player. I don't know his name, but I know they call him Captain America. So that's more than I knew like a week ago.
Which is Pulisic, right? Who's not even the captain of the team. Yeah, why?
But I mean, he's the future. Like he's great. He's
whatever.
He's good.
I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So anyway, let's get to the grading numbers.
Buy his cards now, because the World Cup is coming to America. In the next World Cup is in America, so buy his cards now, because you'll definitely be able to flip them or keep them, because they're not going to be cheap. They're going to be any cheaper than they are right now, probably.
EP with investment advice on soccer. Moving on.
More
advice on soccer than Fernando Tatis, which is his assignment.
I gave you all you need to know about Tatis right now. All you need to know.
I'm going to save that clip, and we're going to play it in 4 years on the podcast and see how it turns out.
Well, we're not going to be alive in 4 years.
Anyway, getting to the November grading numbers. PSA had 994,000. They were down 5%. CSG, CGC combined were 133K. that's down 2.1%. SGC at 70K, down 13%. And Beckett was 50K, down 3%. One of the things I found was pretty interesting. PSA sports cards number were actually down 23%. They graded 548K. Now they had the trading card game special, I believe, that they were grading, and they did 445,000 trading card games. They were up 34%. So I think the reason you're seeing the special for the sports cards being extended is pretty clear in those numbers there, because 23% in 1 month is a pretty big drop off. If they wouldn't have had the special running for trading card games, their numbers would have been really down. So again, we talked about PSA, the amount of cards they need to get to grade now at the level that they've expanded to. Like, prices are going to be going down. Like, isn't this pretty clear?
Yeah. Definitely. You see some of the numbers that are like going down 3%. Like, that's a pretty small amount. Down 23%. That's that really feels bad. Like, that feels like it's a scary number for them after they've done all these upgrades to get all these people in and open a new facility. To be down 23%, like, that is a huge number, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it does explain why they extended the $15. They went from November special to holiday special. Pretty soon, if it doesn't jump up, it's going to be a holiday special extended through January. What is Martin Luther King Days in January, right? So I mean, they gotta. There's holidays every month, baby. So let's just keep it going.
Yeah. Is there a chance? Is there a chance that they just go with $15 now and just don't end up being a special and just go with it?
We'll see in a month. I think
there's a really good chance. I mean, we talked about that before. That seems to be the way they're going to do it. They're going to introduce a special, and then they're going to drop the price to that, like, shortly after. It might not. I don't know if they'll do it. They might do it right away. Like,
they might do it January 1st.
Yeah,
January 1st feels like the date.
Yeah,
because they'll have enough of the December. They have enough of the December numbers to know what they can handle, and at this point, if you're down after offering that special in November, we'll see where they're at the end of December. If they're still down, or even if they stay flat of where they were in November, that if there's not an increase, you've got to think they have to either keep that price or even maybe make it lower to get the number of cards in. I said this about SGC before, and I'll say it about PSA now. I mean, they're still getting in. Let's not weep too much for them. They're getting in 900. They're getting in almost 1 million cards in a month. So, I mean, do they need to drop it down financially? Like, what makes more sense? Having 1 million cards at an average of, who knows what the average? It's hard to tell because they have so many different levels. Where SGC, the 70K they graded were probably all $30. Right. Or, maybe there were some deals with some group submitters, but for the most part, they're $30. With PSA, it would be interesting to see the breakdown. How many people are sending in at the 15 level? How many people are sending in at the 30, the 100, the 300, and so on? I'd be really curious about that myself. The last thing I'll say about this is the CSG number for non-sports really kind of bummed me out to see that drop. I'd like to see a breakdown of Marvel versus non-Marvel to see what that actually is, because I've been saying here for the last few months that CSG was going to overtake PSA in terms of the Marvel market. I wish there was some way to give us some numbers on the CSG Marvel grading and the PSA Marvel grading and see what the levels were on those.
Yeah, nobody's really that I've seen is really tracking the pop reports for just Marvel cards, so it's really hard to tell.
Right.
The breakdown on the CSG was they did 42,000 cards for CSG sports cards. They did 91,000 for the comic and trading card games. So they were actually up 17% for sports cards, and they were down 8%.
That surprises me. It really
But
does.
I mean, with PSA running the
special,
special,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm not familiar enough with Pokemon. I don't know if there was a release of anything new of Pokemon recently that maybe people were sending.
Seems like there's a new Pokemon release like every 2 weeks. You walk into Walmart, there's a new box of something out there.
So, like, I mean, Pokemon is the big part of the trading card market that they send in there. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's really kind of crazy that PSA only about 100,000 difference between sports cards and trading card games. You know, that's interesting number to me. I don't know. I think it speaks to everything. Like, I think people might have grading overload, and I think a lot of people have sent in the cards that they wanted to get graded already, like older stuff. They've already graded them. Like, we've gone through our stuff, all that older stuff we didn't have graded.
Well,
I mean, when I say we, I mean Joe and I, because EP doesn't grade. But yeah,
I do have a Donald Driver molten metal card I'd love to get graded someday, but we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, it's very interesting numbers for sure. I'm curious on what SGC's numbers will look like next month with the Bowman Chrome. The Chrome special, the $9 special.
So was CSG that was the only one that went up, right? Like out of the overall numbers, I think all the other ones were down. Is that right?
No, CSG overall, they
were down too.
CSG themselves were up 17%, but they're only grading 91,000 cards. But combined with the CGC, it was down 2%.
Okay, so they were all down then. And I agree. Like that's, I think we're probably at the saturation point, and we're finally everything's kind of like falling back down to where we're closer to where it should be for like the average collectors, as opposed to the big boom they had in 20 and 21.
Yeah, times have definitely changed. That's for sure. And like we say, I have PSA's number. Their prices are going down. Like, I have a stack of cards, and I can't send them. Like, I've been saying on here, I feel like it's going down, and I just can't do it. I feel like it's going to be cheaper once I send
put in the GIF of Mike patting himself in the back.
Doing that. Well, I mean, but I've been right. Like, we've all been right about
he hates to pat himself on the back, but he's been right.
I've been right about this one from way back. So, I'm gonna take the dub here.
To be fair, I think a lot of us thought eventually they would go down. You thought they would go down to almost $10. We'll see if that happens. I mean, it's possible. I think
12. I said 12. You keep 12. Trying to say 10, but I didn't say 12.
You said 10 to 12 the one time. You did.
Joe's back watching all our videos to make sure he has the accurate numbers.
I am. And you know why I know 10 to 12? Because you said if it doesn't get to 10 to 12, you're going to grade all my Bird Emanuel cards. So I'm holding you at 10. So anyway.
No, 12. It's 12.
We'll say 11. But anyway, so at $15 for only a certain level of card, right? It's from 1996? I forget exactly the date.
Yeah.
But I think it's 1996 on. I think in January 1st it's going to be
expanded
everything.
Yeah, I think
it will be $15 a card. I think that's what would make the most sense, because it's kind of expanding the deal. So it's still, they can still call it a special. But it's not doing anything. They're not actually lowering the price for ultra modern and cards in the 2000s. So, but yeah, it'll increase those vintage 70s 80s cards.
Do you think there are people over there like freaking out, like pooping bricks?
Pooping bricks.
Over
probably
PSA?
Not.
You never say that again.
I would tend to think they're probably aware of this fact. I mean, they're a big company. They have people that have their finger on this pulse. Like, they know what they're doing. Just because we've been able to predict what they're doing doesn't mean that we're smarter than them, although we might be. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say we're not, but I'm not going to say we are. But yeah, no. So like the specials are well timed. You see, they're able to keep their numbers up there. So I think it'll just maybe that whole pricing structure will like lower a little bit, but I think they'll find ways to keep collectors sending cards so they can get somewhere around that million every month. I think that'll be pretty easy for them to do. But one of the interesting things I saw on Twitter, there were a couple people who had sent in for the $15 deal that have gotten their cards like through grading and shipped back already. Like now it's not a consistent thing. There's still a lot of people that are like, oh, mine isn't even in grading yet, or
research and ID or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That, right.
So, but there were a couple different people I saw that had sent them in, and in a matter of a couple weeks got their orders back. So
I wonder if it has to do with the amount of cards you're sending in, because I've had that happen where I'd send in 2 cards, like at the $75 level or whatever it was, and they would come back. The complete date was like a month, and they come back in a week because it was 2 cards. So I'm curious if that, people, they're just churning through those smaller orders, and the bigger ones are the ones that are sitting. Because when people say, oh, I've been waiting forever, dude, you don't know the half of it. You don't know the half of waiting forever. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
How many days? What was the number?
It was 10,265,000. That was a lot. It was a long time. I might bring it up in a pod or a short prints that we're recording later. I might. Spoiler alert.
Almost feel like you may have mentioned at one time that you would never use PSA again.
Have I?
I'm just saying.
Have I?
I'm not. I don't.
Have I?
You will.
Have I?
Will you?
Have I?
Okay. Well, getting back on track here. One other thing, like Beckett at 50K, like they're 20K below SGC. They're 83K below CSG, and they're like light years behind PSA. Who would have ever thought? Like, we come from the retro era. Beckett was a big grading company back then, the toughest grading company, very valuable cards. And to see where they're at now, it's like kind of disappointing.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad. It really is. I mean, the first place we ever sent cards was BGS. We had sent PSA shortly thereafter, but I'm 99% sure the first place we ever sent was BGS.
We did, because you didn't have to have a membership.
You didn't have to have a membership. You had to print out a piece of paper and handwrite everything. But other than that,
I remember those days.
You were my group submitter, Mike. If you remember that,
yes, I did.
And I still have some of those OG Beckett slabs, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, they graded this an 8. This is close to a 10 nowadays.
I know, yeah.
Their grading was so tough. But you know what? When you had a Beckett 9.5, it was a perfect card. It was an absolutely perfect card. And it is really sad to see him at 50K. And I said, I think last month, I'm curious. I'm interested to see what BGS, once they kind of reopen, if they'll jump ahead of SGC, and they have not. And it's kind of, I think I'm curious. Does it have the non-sports? So I will say they did jump up only 1%, but they are ahead of some companies in terms of non-sports, because a lot of Marvel folks still like to use them for some of those specialized cards like the PMGs, because they can get better grades on the overall grades on those than they can from PSA. So I think, again, you really got to push that niche market. We've talked about this. Use your subgrades. Make that your thing. There's no other company right now, no other of the big 4 that are using subgrades. Don't make your special X amount of dollars no subgrades. Make that the baseline. Yeah. Make subgrades the baseline. Totally. It should be your cheapest offering. How much longer does it take? Just do it. I don't understand.
They're doing it already anyway.
You're doing it anyway.
Yeah, do away with no subgrades. Like make every card you grade subgrades. Like differentiate yourself from all the other players, the big players in the market. You're the only one that does it. Like you have a huge opportunity. And I don't know. Yeah, there are a lot of collectors may not want to pay for subgrades, but like I don't think anybody's going to complain having subgrades on the card. It's really nice to know why your card got a 9. You can see, oh, there was something on the surface they didn't like, or oh, something on the edge they didn't like. Like, that's really good information that every collector, I think, that grades would like to have.
How many PSA fanboys, when they get a bad PSA order,
Yeah.
go, I just wish they would tell me why.
Exactly.
But then they keep sending a PSA. Well, Beckett kind of tells you why. BGS kind of tells you why if you have a card with subgrades. So just embrace it. Just do it. That should be your thing. That should be how you market your company. We are the company that will tell you why we graded it this way. We're giving you graders notes. Exactly. No other company is giving you graders notes. We're going to give you graders notes on why your card is a 9 versus a 9.5 or 10.
I'm in the minority here. I'm not a big fan of BGS's slab or their label. But
I actually do like them. Yeah.
But the subgrades are like, again, like they're like, what collector doesn't want to have the subgrades? Like if they probably raised the price $5 and just said we're not doing any with those subgrades, people would pay for it, because they shouldn't raise the price at this right now if they're the bottom of the list.
Give it to us.
Just give it to us. Who knows what that would do to their numbers? I'm sure they'd give a boost. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, one little tidbit I want to end on here today too. We talked a little while ago about the CSG 8 Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps card that was a crossover. It was a crossover from the PSA that did come out, but that card is actually up for auction right now, and it's currently running. I think it has like 8 days or something like that left. It's up to 400.
The current
EP is the current high bidder at 487,000. But yeah, it's just something I want to keep an eye on, because we talked about the PSA 8 that sold recently for 1.47 million. They're expecting this one should sell for around that, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see where it ends up with a CSG slab. Will it go for less? Is it going to go for more? So
could you imagine if it went higher? I mean, that would be the biggest. I mean, I'm not encouraging show bidding, but the people over at CSG are praying that it goes ahead of that PSA.
Oh,
because that gives them huge credibility in the market, that if their mantle is being graded, and why'd they grade it an 8, Mike? Because it had the diamond cut, right? It was a little tilted.
Just a little
that would be a PSA 10, baby. I mean, it looked almost as good as the PSA 10. Honestly,
it's a nice card.
I'm curious what the crossover was.
And
you said it was PSA, but I'm curious what the grade was.
I didn't see what the grade was on it, but they did, the grader too, like there's a lot of specific details about the card. Like we don't get that for our normal cards that we send into any company, but like he's on record saying that the surface is like flawless on it. The color is beautiful. I believe the grader actually called it a work of art. So I really think that diamond cut was really the only major thing. Might have been a tiny little bit of corner wear or something on it, but they gave a lot of information to the potential bidders. So like, EP, you're in the lead right now. I don't think you're going to get it at 4.
Yeah, it's going to go. But that's how EP rolls, man. He likes to go low just to watch the
I don't know what his high bid is. Like he may have bid way higher.
512.
Okay, 512. Okay.
Just like a go.
Just since we're on the topic quickly, and our friend Mike Jones had brought this to my attention, that we didn't talk about the SGC to PSA, what was it, SGC 4 to PSA 9 card that was recently shown. I mean, I'm really, really curious on what this PSA to CSG crossover is, because grading is subjective. I'm curious. I'm very curious if it was a PSA 8, they wouldn't have tried to cross it over at that point. I mean, was it a PSA 7? Like, I really, really want to know. Yeah. I really, really want to know.
Grading is subjective, but man, how do you go from a 4 to a 9? That's what it was, right? From a 4 to a 9?
That was a Jamar Chase. What was that? 2021 Donruss.
It was like a case hit
insert card. Yeah. And I'll try to find a picture of it and throw it up here. But yeah, there's a box on the card where the Donruss logo is supposed to go, and the Donruss logo is completely below the box, and somehow SGC picked it up. They graded a 4. The person cracked it out, sent it to PSA, and it got a 9. And clearly the grader just totally whiffed on the centering on it. So he was probably, looking at the corners, looking at the surface, looking at the edges, like, oh yeah, this one's pretty good. And like never
and that's how that mantle got a 10 because they looked at the corners, edges, surface, and they're like, oh wait, is this card completely shifted? And they moved on and gave it a 10. But yeah, I mean, thank you, Mike Jones, for reminding us. We were going to talk about that a couple pods ago and ran out of time, but it's apropos to this because, when you do those crossovers, it is completely subjective. So that's what really makes me want to know what that PSA mantle was before they cracked it out, because who's cracking that out? Give me the pliers, baby. Give me the top cutters. I'm in. Put me in, coach.
And also, I mean, I'm not ripping PSA, but when you're talking about the quality of the grading, the company that's going through 1 million cards a month is just not going to be able to grade as accurately, as consistently as the companies that are doing 70 or 50. Yeah, it's like
that's not even a knock.
If you're going into McDonald's, you're not going to expect your burger is going to be the same quality if you're going in a nice little bar and grill down the street. They're making so many more of them. And that's the thing. They only have so much time. They have all these new graders. They're flying through 1 million cards a month. Like imagine that even 2 years ago saying that PSA is going to grade 1 million a month. So
that's the tagline of the episode. PSA
seriously.
McDonald's.
But not a bad thing. That's what we wanted. We wanted them to be able to handle the volume.
When I'm hungover, I want a PSA slap.
Exactly. But you do have to realize that they're going to miss some. Like it's with grading that many, some of them are going to slip through. So like, as much as I'd really like to hammer PSA for screwing up that card, it's like, it's clear that what happened. The guy just missed it. Like he probably looked at the picture, everything looked centered, and didn't realize that the print and stuff wasn't where it was supposed to be. Probably looked at it so close that he didn't even notice that part. So
I feel like there's my hope is anyway. Like again, we've talked about this before. PSA, put cameras in your grading room or do something. Give us some sort of idea what's going on.
Other than that.
Right. Give us some sort of clue. But like, I feel like a card like that mantle or a card like that chase, like you gotta there's gotta be like levels of graders. Like you gotta send that up to do that grades the $300 cards. You know what I mean? Like the $300 submission cards. Like you know what I mean? Like their higher end stuff. Like you have to have somebody like, or maybe like I was sick that day. Things fall through the cracks for sure. But I feel like PSA should be telling us stuff like this, like that. Like we should know that their best graders are grading their highest, and
I'm certain they are. Like when you're sending in the newer stuff, the lower end stuff, that's where all the newest hires are going to be working. They're the ones that went through the backlog that they had. They, imagine having that job, like digging through that backlog. Like you might have a couple orders where you're like, you know what? They have 10 of this same card. Let's put 8 9s and 2 10s. Like, just throw.
So to that exact point, I mentioned them previously. They're a fun follow. Carlson Cards on YouTube. They do a lot of PSA reveals, and they did a 500 card order, and every Topps Chrome, every single Topps Chrome was a 9. Mm-hmm. Tell me that all those cards were exactly the same. Right? No. The grader saw Topps Chrome like 9, good enough. Mm-hmm. And there were some he even said this shouldn't be a 9. And there were some he said this should be a 10. Right. Every single one was a 9.
They probably just quickly looked at the front and back to make sure there's not a crease or a main scratch.
No, and 9, fine. That's what's going on. So that's what makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, grading's objective. It's not subjective." No, really? Yeah. It's either subjective or lazy. It's not objective. It's either subjective or lazy.
Yeah.
That's it.
The same grader could grade the same card 10 times and come up with different grades, just depending on what they see on a certain day, like
in their mood.
And they don't have, like, they're not looking at the cards as long as you are. Like, you just have to realize that reality. So you might think a card is great, like, and they're just kind of quickly going through it. If they're having a day, you might get a good grade. If they're having a bad day,
if their wife cheated on them the night before, you are hosed.
We joke about it, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. All three of us go into work if we've had a bad night the night before, and we're not. I snapped at my admin the other day for no reason that had anything to do with her, but I snapped at her. And I took what I had going on at home to work. You don't think greater? You think they're these like
it's hard not
omnipotent powers that don't have to deal with that stuff? What it is. We're all humans, and these cards are being graded by humans who can have bad nights.
Right. It'd be great if we had endless pockets, so we could just cash just be able to send a card in, then crack it out and send it in again, and to see how many times we get different grades out of a card.
I'm surprised Alico has not done a video series on that. He's the one guy I could see totally doing a video on that.
All right, guys. Well, wrap it up there. That was a pretty good chat, and see you next week. Take care, guys.
Adios.